Ever wondered what it would feel like to pilot a fighter jet on the road? Well, wonder no more. The KTM X-BOW GT-XR is here to answer that burning question. With its jet-inspired canopy, carbon fiber, everything, and a name that sounds straight out of a sci-fi movie, this isn't just a car. It's a full-blown adrenaline machine. Strap in, because we're about to take off in a road-legal race car. Makes you feel like Maverick from Top Gun, minus the airspace. Ready for the ride of your life? Let's go. Today, we're talking about something truly special, the KTM X-BOW GT-XR. This is the road-legal version of the X-BOW GT2, and let me tell you, it's not just another car. It's got carbon fiber everywhere, fighter jet-style canopy, and a removable steering wheel, and a bunch of other features that scream, I'm built for speed. If you've ever wanted to feel like you're piloting a spacecraft on the road, this is it. Let's take a look around and see why this car is like a supercar on steroids, built for drivers who take speed and handling seriously. Now, let's talk about that name just for a sec. KTM X-BOW GT-XR sounds more like a military fighter jet designation than a supercar, right? I mean, compare it to names like Ferrari Enzo or Lamborghini Urus. They just roll off the tongue. But here's the thing. KTM is Australian, and Australians are straight shooters. They don't bother with fluff. This car is all about business, speed, performance, and functionality. No fancy Italian romance here. What you get is basically a road-legal race car that's as direct as it gets. Let's dive into why this thing is so special. The first thing you'll notice about the KTM X-BOW GT-XR is that it doesn't look like your everyday supercar. No flowing lines or soft curves here. This thing looks like it was designed in a wind tunnel. And guess what? It probably was. Everything on this car screams aerodynamics, and that's because every bit of it is designed for speed and downforce. Oh, and did I mention it's all made from carbon fiber? Yes, the entire body, from the chassis to the panels, is carbon fiber. This car has a carbon fiber monocoque, which makes it ridiculously strong. Fun fact, you could stack 11 tons on top of this thing and it wouldn't even flinch. That's not just rare, it's almost unheard of in road legal cars. So if you're planning on driving through a war zone, you'll be safe. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. What really makes this car stand out? It's got to be the fighter jet style canopy. This thing is wild. You just click a button and the whole cockpit opens forward like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. It's like sitting in a McLaren Solus GT, only this isn't a multi-million-dollar car. It's a $300,000 speed demon by KTM. Some of you may recognize KTM from their motorcycle, but here they've made something truly unique, a race car for the road. And speaking of race cars, this model follows the footsteps of the KTM X-BOW GT2, which was a legitimate race car. Now they've made the GTX, which is almost identical to the GT2, but with road-legal tweak. The canopy, by the way, is electric and soft closing. The hinges are right there in plain view, but when you lock it, it feels like something out of a futuristic military vehicle. If there were an award for coolest car door, this thing would take the trophy. Let's move on to the front of the car. The design is incredibly minimalist. KTM wasn't going for luxury or flash. They focused on performance. The front end is designed purely for aerodynamics and downforce with a massive carbon fiber. There's nothing overly complex here. It's flat, it's functional, and it's fast. And that canopy, it's not just round or plain. The shape is almost like a bat symbol, making it look like the Batmobile, especially if you imagine it in matte black. Every detail is intentional, down to the number plate that reads RPM car. This baby has a maximum RPM of 7,000, and trust me, when you rev it, you'll know exactly what that means. Now, this is where things get really interesting. The original KTM X-BOW was more of a massive go-kart, a fun vehicle for the rich to mess around with. But the GTX, this is a full-blown supercar, and it shows. It's sleek, aggressive, and built to perform. At the back, you'll see a gigantic spoiler, which you can actually swap out for a GT2 model spoiler if you want even more downforce. This thing sticks to the road like glue at high speeds, giving you more stability and traction when you're tearing through corners. And I've got to say, the design of the rear end is stunning. It's aggressive without going overboard, and the carbon fiber accents add that touch of race-ready finesse. The rear vents, they look like they're straight out of a Maserati MC20, and if you thought that was cool, wait until you see the twin exhaust setup with a Formula 1 style brake light between them. The back of this car is all angles and sharp lines, giving it an unmistakably fierce appearance. It's aggressive, but in a way that makes you want to get behind the wheel and unleash it on a track. Okay, now for the fun part. Let's hop inside. Getting into this car is a challenge, to say the least. It's not as simple as opening a door and sliding in. You have to sit on the edge, swing a leg over, and then lower yourself down. But once you're in, it's like sitting inside a fighter jet. The steering wheel is removable and hangs on a holder. You unclip it from the holder and voila, you've got a full-blown race car steering wheel in your hand. Everything around you is carbon fiber. There's no mistake that this car is built for speed. The seats are bucket style and made from, you guessed it, carbon fiber, with minimal padding for that race car feel. They come with removable pillows for a bit of comfort, but you're definitely going to want a helmet when you take this thing first. The 4-point seatbelt locks you in tight, making you feel like you're about to launch into orbit. And down the middle, no touchscreen, no fancy infotainment system, just raw, unfiltered driving power. KTM didn't want anything distracting from the driving experience. The only thing remotely normal in here is the Audi start-stop. KTM borrowed it, and honestly, it fits perfectly in the setup. There's also a little secret button on the side. Press it, and you can lift the back end of the car to reveal the engine, and get this, surprisingly decent boot space. This thing has more room than you'd expect from a track car. You can throw your racing gear back there, maybe even a small suitcase for a weekend getaway. And with a 96-liter fuel tank, you can drive this thing for up to 1,000 kilometers before needing to refuel. Not bad for a supercar. Under the hood, or rather under the canopy, you'll find a 2.5-liter 5-cylinder engine borrowed from Audi and cranked up to nearly 500 horsepower. It's been fine-tuned by KTM to deliver maximum thrills, but this car only weighs about 1,250 kilograms with all fluids included. That power-to-weight ratio is a recipe for serious fun on the track. This car isn't just fast, it's incredibly agile. Every bump, every vibration from the engine, you feel it. That's because the engine is bolted directly to the carbon fiber chassis. It's raw, unfiltered, and absolutely thrilling. So what's it like to actually drive this beast? Let me tell you, it's mind the power, the speed, the agility. It all comes together in a way few cars can match. It feels like you're piloting a Formula 1 car that just happens to be road legal. The steering is responsive, the brakes are tracked, and the paddle shifters give you that satisfying click with every shift. And when you hit the gas, oh man, the acceleration is brutal in the best way possible. You've got the engine roaring behind you, the road blurring in front of you, and the canopy giving you this insane 180-degree view of the world flying by. It's an experience you won't forget anytime soon. And that's a wrap on the KTM X-BOW GT-XR. So, what do you think? Could you see yourself cruising the streets, or maybe the track, in this carbon fiber rocket ship? Are you ready to feel like a fighter jet pilot every time you hit the road? Let us know in the comment. If you love this wild ride, don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe to join the squad, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our next high-octane adventure. Until next time, stay fast and stay curious.